We're going now into that secret will, the secret will that robes itself with night and offers to spirit the ordeal of the flesh, imposed a mystic mask of death and pain. So what I have to do here is we have to look at these lines and try to understand why there is a secret will that robes itself with night. If everything is the divine, and the divine is everything and is in everything, then it is the divine also who robes himself with night. And he even offers to spirit the ordeal of the flesh, and thereby imposing a mystic mask of death and pain. Well, that is because he is speaking here of the evolution. And when the divine wants to be great, powerful, all good, supreme, he can also be the opposite. And this is what all the religions cannot realize, is that the divine is everything. He's the opposite of everything as well as the other side of it. So we have a secret will here that robes itself. It robes itself. It just covers itself with night. And therefore it offers to spirit the ordeal of the flesh. And the ordeal of the flesh is the human flesh and all of the problems that we have with the body, mind, and life. And so it imposes sort of a mystic mask of death and pain. Now, that we see in our lives every day. And unless we can transcend this mask of death and pain, we cannot rise to the higher levels of consciousness that are waiting for us, beginning, of course, with the higher mind and continuing with the illumined and intuitive mind into the overmind, where we will see that there is truly no ordeal of the flesh at those levels. So now we see, interned now in the slow and suffering years, sojourns the winged and wonderful wayfarer, and can no more recall her happier state, but must obey the inert, inconscious law, insensible foundation of a world in which blind limits are on beauty laid, and joy and sorrow and joy as struggling comrades live. Well, although he is speaking here of another plane of existence that Sri Aurobindo is experiencing, there is no question that it's also ours. We are winged and we are wonderful wayfarers, there's no doubt. But we are interned now in these slow and suffering years. And certainly we know that today when we look at the episodes of war, of falsehood in all parts of the world. Now I see China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, America. So the winged and wonderful wayfarer has to sojourn, take its rest someplace, and can no longer recall her happier state, but must obey the inert, inconscience law. We've been through the inconscience so many times. And this inconscient is where we basically live until we can rise higher in our consciousness. He calls it an insensible foundation of a world in which blind limits are laid on beauty. Look at that line. In which blind limits are on beauty laid. And sorrow and joy as struggling comrades live. Why is sorrow a comrade of joy? Joy? It is because we cannot seem always to have joy within us. Always sorrow comes as our comrade and joins us in this wonderful move of evolution towards higher and higher happiness, joy, ecstasy, ananda. So we see now this dread and dim muteness that fell on her, this creative spirit. Abolished was her subtle mighty spirit, and slain her boon of child God happiness, and all her glory into littleness turned, and all her sweetness into a maimed desire. Well, this is certainly the glory and the fall of life that we're witnessing. Life has all of these things that he's telling us, that the mighty spirit of life in that zone, in that plane, has her boon gift of child God happiness slain. And all her glory is turned into littleness, and all her sweetness into a maimed desire. What a strong line. Sweetness turning into maimed desire. Not simply desire, but maimed, disfigured. So veiled was her immortality that she seemed
to feed death. You missed.
Oh, to feed death with her works is here life's doom. Now, we have to remember that this is not exactly our earth, or there are so many symbolical representations of it on this plane of existence. So veiled was her immortality that she seemed inflicting consciousness on unconscious things. Now, that's a strange term, isn't it? But we have to realize it's this plane. How can you inflict consciousness on unconscious things? Inflicting is a very strong word. When you inflict something on someone, it's a very powerful thing. And so Sri Aurobindo uses that word very intentionally. And I wanted to say something here about the reading of Savitri also. Now, I've spoken at great length with Huta and with Amal Kiran on how to read Savitri. And one day I'll find all my notes and share them with you. But the important thing here is slowness, clearness. Those two things are critical. And I always ask Sri Aurobindo to read through this body, because what can this body know of what he has seen and experienced? It is so far from that. all I can do is be grateful and humble that we are able to share these lines together, this passage through these worlds together. So we see inflicting consciousness on unconscious things, an episode in an eternal death, a myth of being that must forever cease. Such was the evil mystery of her change. And if we went higher up in the past, we saw that there were many other things about this plane of existence and this glory. We had so much of the glory of life, and now we have had the fall of life to end this canto. Vladimir, you want to share something with us? Because this is a very powerful experience of a plane of existence that is not so far from us.
Yeah, this passage on secret wheel that robes itself with night, it's actually this typical Vedic imagery that the night is actually a location for the spirit. Yeah, it is the place into which night introduces spirit into this world. It gives it a house. It's a house of God. So all the, if you remember, the Isha Upanishad starts, all this is for habitation by the Lord. Yeah. All this is to be illumined by his presence. All this has to be wrapped or worn as garments by the Lord. So these garments, yeah, and Sri Aurobindo uses this imagery often, and darkness slipped and fell like a falling cloak. Yes, from the reclining body of the God.
From the reclining body of God, yes.
Or there is at the end, and night in her bosom nursed the great dawn. So all the time night is a wrapping around the robes of the divine, giving him a mask, a body and mask. All this is profoundly Vedic, and also Sri Aurobindo's imagery is profound. I laughed very much struggling comrades. Yes. He has humor, such a profound humor. You can imagine struggling comrades constantly going on and on.
Sorrow and joy.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. This is so beautiful. And we are so grateful, Narad, to you that you do this with us. This is such a powerful journey.
Thank you. I only credit it to Sri Aurobindo, who has opened me a little bit to Savitri. There are others who are far greater, such as Jamur, and soon, hopefully soon in December, I will begin a series on Savitri with Ranganathan, who is so brilliant. And we're praying for that anyway. He's already doing three a week with me, but he seems to be inclined to agree. And I would be sharing that with you on our website. So shall we go to the next canto? So this is the kingdoms of the little life. It's a little life. It's not a bad life so much, but it's a little life. So I will begin, and I'll read a little bit first, so we can have a sense of the whole journey here, just beginning. A quivering, trepidant, uncertain world, born from that dolorous meeting and eclipse, appeared in the emptiness where her feet had trod. A quick obscurity, a seeking stir. There was a writhing of half-conscious force, hardly awakened from the inconscient sleep, tied to an instinct-driven ignorance to find itself and find its hold on things. Inheritor of poverty and loss, assailed by memories that fled when seized, haunted by a forgotten, uplifting hope. It strove with the blindness as of groping hands to fill the aching and disastrous gap between earth pain and the bliss from which life fell. Well, you see, Mother talks to us a lot about these emanations that were first sent down with creation. This emanation of love that turned into hate and truth that turned into falsehood. So we see that there's this earth pain and the bliss from which life fell is an aching and disastrous gap. A quivering, trepidant, fearful, uncertain world, born from that dolorous, that great sad meeting and eclipse, born from that dolorous meeting and eclipse, because there was eclipse, and we see in the very beginning how Sri Aurobindo speaks in Book 1, Canto 1. It was the hour before the gods awake. Across the path of the divine event, the huge foreboding mind of night, alone in her unlit temple of eternity, they stretched immobile upon silence's march. Almost one felt opaque, impenetrable in the somber symbol of her eyeless muse, the abysm of the unbodied infinite. A fathomless zero occupied the world, a power of fallen, boundless self, awake between the first and the last nothingness. Well, I could go on and on. It is just so extraordinary. I had heard that Sri Aurobindo recast it 16 times, and Ranganath told me, no, 50. And I have seen all the versions. 50 times he recast this first canto. So now we're back to the kingdoms of a little life, and we get some idea of this emptiness where her feet, the Divine Mother's feet, had trod. A quick obscurity, a seeking stir. Look how he tells us that it's not some deep obscurity, it's a quick obscurity. And it's a stir that's seeking, it's seeking. And there's a writhing. Writhing is a strong word, very strong word. Writhing, when we writhe in pain, in severe pain, the body is twisted and wrenched back and forth. So it's a writhing of it, but it's not a full force. It's only a half-conscious force. There was a writhing of half-conscious force, hardly awakened from the inconscient sleep. Now, you see, Sri Aurobindo only uses the words that come from the highest overmental plane. He tells us this in the record of yoga, in the future poetry. And he says that the difference in hardly and barely is a great difference. When Amal Kiran questioned him, says, why didn't you use barely? He explains very clearly why he didn't use it. And he said, hardly is the word here. So here we have hardly awakened. It's not barely awakened, it's hardly awakened from the inconscient sleep. And as a result of that, it's tied to an instinct-driven ignorance. Why is it tied to that? Because it has to find itself and find its hold on things. Then he tells us that it is an inheritor of poverty and loss. How sad. Assailed by memories that fled when seized. So it seizes these memories, but it's assailed by them. And the moment he catches them, they're gone. They fled, that fled when seized. And this life force here is haunted by a forgotten, uplifting hope. What did it do? It strove with a blindness as of groping hands. You know, when the child is very, very young, it's groping around for a plaything, for a toy. And here, this force is groping with the blindness, but it's striving. It's striving to find something. And what does it want to find? It wants to fill the aching and disastrous gap. Oh, what a strong statement. A disastrous gap. This is the abyss that Mother and Sri Aurobindo always tell us about. And that gap is between this earth pain, notice the hyphenated word, between earth pain and the bliss from which life fell. A world that ever seeks for something missed, hunts for the joy that earth has failed to keep. Well, once earth had this joy, but there were many pralayas in which earth was destroyed as such. Lemuria, Atlantis, all these different explorations, and many of them much higher than we are now on Earth, especially scientifically. So life is seeking for this world where it has missed something, and it's hunting for this joy that Earth has failed to keep. And now he says, too near to our gates, its unappeased unrest, for peace to live on the inert, solid globe. It has joined its hunger to the hunger of earth. It has given the law of craving to our lives. It has made our spirit's need a fathomless gulf. Our spirit's need has been a fathomless gulf for centuries. The only way of recourse was to get out of it through moksha, liberation, union with the divine, and leave earth to where it was. No change to the earth. It is only Sri Aurobindo and Mother who have given us that hope that earth must become the life divine. So we will look a little bit closer. An influence entered mortal night and day. A shadow overcast the time-born race. In the troubled stream where leaps a blind heart pulse, and the nerve beat of feeling wakes in sense, dividing matter's sleep from conscious mind, there strayed a call that knew not why it came. The repose that might have been can be no more. A formless yearning passions in man's heart. A cry is in his blood for happier things. Else could he roam on a free sunlit soil with the childlike pain-forgetting mind of beasts, or live happy, unmoved, like flowers and trees. So let's go back to those lines again so we can study them a little bit more. Now, Sri Aurobindo is talking about earth and humanity. And he says that what has happened here? A shadow, can we go a little higher? A shadow, an influence entered mortal night and day. And a shadow, you see? So we have an influence and we have a shadow. A shadow overcast the time-born race. This is specifically humanity, a time-born race. We are born in time, we exit in time, we come back in time. We are a time-born race. We are not the ever-born or the unborn, who can take birth willingly whenever they want. And Mother and Sri Aurobindo have come to us constantly through the ages, in different forms, not always as avatars, sometimes as vibhutis, sometimes just as great helpers, helping the earth to evolve a little further. Sri Aurobindo speaks about Christ so beautifully in the synthesis of yoga and in the essays on the Gita. And of course, Krishna. And this 24th is always a very special day for me because it is not the day of the supramental, but it is the day when Krishna physically entered the body of Sri Aurobindo, preparing the way for the supramental. So let me go a little bit more and we'll complete today. An influence entered, you went down, let's see. Okay. An influence entered mortal night and day. A shadow overcast the time-worn race. In the troubled stream where leaps a blind heart pulse, and the nerve beat of feeling wakes in sense, dividing matter's sleep from conscious mind, there strayed a call that knew not why it came. This is the call, for me at least, that touches us all. And the call, once decisive, sets the soul on its journey, and it doesn't matter whether there are thousands of falls on the way. The end is promised once that call has been accepted. One will become supramentalized, be a part of the supramental world. That Sri Aurobindo promises us time and time again. So now to get back. A power beyond Earth's scope has touched the earth. The repose that might have been can be no more. A formless yearning passions in man's heart. A cry is in his blood for happier things. Else could he roam on a free sunlit soil with the childlike pain-forgetting mind of beasts, or live happy, unmoved, like flowers and trees. Just a few words here. You see, the flowers and the trees have no mind as we humans do. Their entire life is an aspiration for light. And the ultimate offering of the plant is its flower. That's what it surrenders in great joy to the divine presence. The beasts fight, yes, they fight at times. They do have pain, they injure each other, especially when one wants to take over a herd. And there is pain, but they don't remember this pain the way we do. They don't have a mind and a vital the way we do. It's a very simple thing. It's a childlike pain-forgetting mind. So if we didn't have this cry in our blood for happier things, if we didn't have this yearning passion in our heart for something greater, for something better, for something more beautiful, for something truer, then we could roam around on this free sunlit soil with a kind of childlike pain-forgetting mind of beasts. Or we could live happy, unmoved, notice the word, unmoved, like flowers and trees. I've gone on for a while. Vladimir, could you add a few things? And then we can have someone read the passage to us.
God, yeah, there is nothing to say. That's so, yeah, as it is, it's so wonderful. By the way, this canto itself is the most psychological canto for all of us. We will recognize how we behave. I learned so much from this little life canto. It's actually all our behavior is here, all our relations. He will define.
I'm not getting your voice anymore.
No? Oh, so sorry.
Well, who will read the passage? Okay, fine, Natalie. Ashwini, could you read the passage for us?
Sure. A quivering, trepidant, uncertain world, born from that dolorous meeting and eclipse, appeared in the emptiness where her feet had trod, a quick obscurity, a seeking stir. There was a writhing of half-conscious force, hardly awakened from the inconscious sleep, tied to an instinct-driven ignorance, to find itself and find its hold on things. Inheritor of poverty and loss, assailed by memories that fled when seized, haunted by a forgotten, uplifting hope, it strove with a blindness as of groping hands to fill the aching and disastrous gap between earth pain and the bliss from which life fell. A world that ever seeks for something missed, hunts for the joy that earth has failed to keep. Too near to our gates, its unappeased unrest, for peace to live on the inert solid globe. It has joined its hunger to the hunger of earth. It has given the law of craving to our lives. It has made our spirits' need a fathomless gulf. An influence entered mortal night and day. A shadow overcast the time-born race. In the troubled stream where leaps a blind heart pulse, and the nerve beat of feeling wakes in sense, dividing matter's sleep from the conscious mind, there strayed a call that knew not why it came. A power beyond earth's scope has touched the earth. The repose that might have been can be no more. A formless yearning passions in man's heart, a cry is in his blood for happier things. Else could he roam on a free sunlit soil with the childlike pain-forgetting mind of beasts, or live happy, unmoved, like flowers and trees.
Ashwini, you read very well, but there are a couple of things I would like to share with you. We have the word there, and people constantly want to emphasize that word. But it's actually there was. So it's not there was, but there was. You got it?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. The other thing is that although the reading is excellent, you take many, many breaths in each line. And if you can take a deeper breath and try to carry that line through, in the troubled stream where leaps a blind heart pulse. You see how you get the feeling? Instead of in the troubled stream where leaps a blind heart pulse, but one constant flow of iambic pentameter will carry the mantra even further. Can you read a few lines from A Power Beyond Earth's? We just try it.
Sure. A power beyond Earth's scope has touched the earth. Is that better?
Much better. Much better.
Can I read again from there?
Sure.
A power beyond Earth's scope has touched the earth. The repose that might have been can be no more. A formless yearning passions in man's heart. A cry is in his blood for happier things. Else could he roam on a free sunlit soil with the childlike pain-forgetting mind of beasts, or live happy, unmoved, like flowers and trees.
And so you see, it's a combination of correct breathing along with the inflections that are necessary for each line. So you're doing very well. Thank you so much. And thank you all. Namaste all. Thank you for this evening.
Namaste, Narad.